The Midlands Today Show with Will Faulkner.
Midlands 103.
So Brian Cloonan is our DIY expert, in theory anyway. We like to catch him out. And you're very welcome to attempt to do so on 083 30 10 103. Shall we begin with caterpillars on vegetables? I'm not sure if this is your area of expertise, but have you anything that would repel a caterpillar?
Well, I mean, there's loads of caterpillar insecticides, and some of them are organic caterpillar insecticides. So that's the route to go. Some of them you can spray today and eat the crop tomorrow. So just go into your local garden centre or hardware shop and get a caterpillar spray. That's it. I mean, they're all over the place. It has been a very, very good summer for insects because they like the rain. You know, they have enough moisture there that they don't do well in very, very dry, hot summers. And of course, it's been a while since we've had that.
We have a bit of a manky barbecue problem.
Okay.
Burned in grease, flaking paint. It's a bit rickety. It's a bit sorry for itself.
Okay.
It needs a makeover.
All right, a makeover. Yeah, it's a programme you could run. Barbecue makeover.
Barbecue makeover.
Okay, well, I suppose first things first. If it's burnt in grease and all that, you need to use an oven cleaner, a barbecue or oven cleaner, preferably the paste on one, but any barbecue or oven cleaner, and just follow the instructions, put it on, leave it for a while. If it was really bad, put it on and cover it in cling film, particularly cover the cooking grids in cling film. And, well, I suppose, no, let's start from the very beginning. If you have a manky barbecue, the very first thing you do is turn it on. Mm-hmm. This is if it's a gas one, turn it on, and light it, turn it on and close down the lid. If it's a gas one, turn down the lid and burn off everything inside and then leave it to cool. Likewise, if it's a solid fuel one, put on a barbecue, put on some charcoal, light it up. If there's a cover on it, put down the cover and just basically incinerating everything inside. And let it go cold, and when it's cold, get an oven cleaner and clean all the cooking area and all the inside of the lid, if there's a lid on it. Get it as clean, hygienically clean as you can, using an oven cleaner. Then what you would do is get some very fine sandpaper and emery paper, really, black emery paper, and rub down, anywhere you're flaking paint, rub it down. And you do this outside in the open, where the flaking bits falling on the ground don't matter, and then wash it down with white spirits to both degrease the outside and get rid of the dust from the sanding. And then go into any hardware shop or paint shop and you'll get a barbecue or stove paint, a black barbecue or stove paint. Spray on or brush on. Spray on will give you a better finish. It's up to you whether you're confident using the spray on. It's very easy, really. Anything you don't want to paint, buy a roll of masking tape when you're getting the paint and just mask off, if there's wooden side panels, mask them off with newspaper and masking tape. If there's a handle you don't want to paint, just see can you take it off first. So a lot of these bits are screwed on. So unscrew them. If you want to do a really good job, unscrew them. Paint everything that looks manky black. It may not have been originally black, it'll look fine black now. So paint anything that's manky black with the spray-on stove paint, which is really heat resistant. Look at, if there's 2 or 3 different brands there, look at the temperature range. You ideally want something that's going to go up to about 500 or 600, at least 400 degrees. So that's 4 times boiling point. So that's very, very hot. And that means it'll last. Now, in terms of, look, if you have a barbecue and you're moving it around, that barbecue was assembled. You know, it's not all one piece. There's loads of nuts and bolts and everything in it.
Sure, and over time the movement will loosen
exactly,
parts
will loosen them up, exactly. So get out a spanner, a vice grips and a screwdriver and just look at every single thing that can be tightened and tighten it up. And do that before you paint it. So tighten everything up, clean it first, then tighten everything up and then paint it. Do you know what? You'll have a brand new barbecue.
Okay, can I ask you about prevention being better than cure, just on the intense clean-up effort?
Yes.
Is there a regular clean that is not too laboursome that you could do?
The best way, we shouldn't always presume people have gas barbecues, but I mean, if you have a gas barbecue, or if you have any barbecue with a lid that closes down, the very best thing you do is at the end of every barbecue session, close down the lid. If it's a gas one, turn up the burners, all of them, up to full. And basically incinerate everything inside.
So leave it up full for how long?
Leave it up full, maybe 10 minutes. And then just turn off everything and let it cool down. And then when it's cool, be it before you use it the next time or whenever, and clean it just with a nylon. Don't use metal if you can. Try and just use a nylon pad, a nylon scrubbing brush to get it clean. But all that incinerated stuff is now is hygienically clean because it went to such a temperature. But it's also very hard, crusty. 9 times out of 10, it'll all just brush off. The Australians, who, in fairness, they're big into their Barbies. They would advocate you never actually have to clean in terms of the big scrub. That you don't really have to get out the scrubbing brush and the hot water and the detergent and all that. They would advocate you just simply incinerate everything at the end of each barbecue and dry rub it the next time, and then off you go again.
How much is a good barbecue?
Oh, look, that ranges everything from...
I know.
No, literally, it depends on the use. I mean, you will pay a couple of $100 for a barbecue that's going to last.
No, but the barbecue that you want to use 3 or 4 times a year, because let's face it, that's our only opportunity in this sort of a summer.
Yeah, you'll buy a barbecue for €100.
100 quid.
Yeah.
Okay. Carmel in Stradbally has a mahogany table, and there was a greasy-looking substance on it. And when she removed that, it removed the shine from the table.
Okay.
Is there a way of restoring the shine?
Yeah, well, there's only 2 ways of restoring it. One is to varnish 1 coat of varnish or French polish, or else to get a beeswax polish and put on 2 coats of beeswax polish just on that area, and then a coat of beeswax polish over the entire table surface. So just literally put it on, light coat, leave it for a couple of hours, and then buff it up. And then do the same thing, the following day, and then the same thing the 3rd day, except over the entire table surface to get uniformity on it. And that'll bring it right back.
All right. Mary and Clara has a problem with paint on clothes and paint on tarmac. I'm getting the impression somebody was
careful
sloppy when they were painting. So, on the clothes, first of all, does it depend on the type of fabric?
Oh, there's just so many variables there. I mean, what type of paint? Is it water-based? Is it spirit-based? Is it cellulose-based? I have to be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, anything strong enough to remove paint from clothes
will damage the clothes.
Now, the only thing you can do is, if it's something, if it's a overalls or jeans or whatever, if you let's say it's jeans, okay, so what you would do is you would take the jeans and you'd fold them up and you'd put them into a bucket of water with plenty of detergent, washing powder, whatever in it, and you'd leave it for 3, 4, 5 days. Now make sure the jeans are below the water, so that they're continually, well, certainly the area that has the paint,
okay, so they're
is
immersed.
Continually wet. And 9 times out of 10, paint that has been kept wet for that length of time will separate. It'll become very soft and it'll just separate away. So you take it out and you rub it with, rub the cloth together. So literally grab the 2 pieces of cloth and rub them together. Like you'd see people years ago. Remember years ago you used to wash clothes on an old washboard?
I've seen it.
That sort of effect. So rub it, and if you want to try a nail brush to rub it down, not too hard. All this depends on the material. It depends on how tough the material is.
But
obviously,
denim would be durable
particularly
enough.
tough, exactly. Yeah. And cottons react better to that than some of the nylon materials and so on. So it's a matter of look, if the thing is destroyed anyway, and you're never going to be able to wear it again anyway,
you've nothing to lose.
You've nothing to lose, exactly.
And tarmac?
In tarmac, what you would do is probably the best thing to do is get a water-based paint stripper and brush it on, leave it for about 20 minutes. Get a deck scrub, give it a good scrub, and then hose it all off down away from, so that all the water is with the paint that now removed is all washed away, and the paint remover is washed away.
Catherine bought an oak wardrobe that has been smoke damaged.
Okay.
So how would you remove the smoke damage?
It's basically you're going to wash it with either a detergent or white spirits. Now, smoke damage means it is a deposit of smoke on the surface. So you have to wash that off. So that involves usually a fairly aggressive washing. The longer it's there, the harder it is to get rid of it. That's the problem. I spoke to a guy today, by the way, fire in his house, I don't know, a month ago. And his insurance company won't allow him to clean it.
What?
And
Why?
I don't know. Go figure. It just...
Do they want to come out and inspect?
Well, they've inspected it already. I mean, the guy, and you can imagine, he's a clatter. I don't know how many kids, but he's a clatter of young kids in the house. A couple of them asthmatic. And here's the thing that really, they're coughing and spluttering because it was only the kitchen that was burnt. Mm-hmm. One of his young fellas set the place on fire. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Damage done to the kitchen, but the smoke gets everywhere in the house. And the longer you leave it, I mean, I'm always saying, if you have a fire, open all the windows. If you have a smell of any sort in the house,
release it.
Release it, get it out. The longer it's there without it being cleaned, the worse it will be. So anyway, but he can't rent a house because no one wants to rent a house for a month. And
they want a 6-month lease.
They want at least a
least
6 month, and they want a grand up front for insurance, for electricity, and all this sort of thing. He just was at his wit's end. I just felt very sorry for him. Anyway, what were we saying?
I haven't a clue.
Smoke damage, oak, oak damage, smoke damage, oak wardrobe. You need to remove that smoke deposit off it. You need to go as aggressive as you need to go, and then you may need to re-wax it or re-varnish it afterwards to make sure that. So in other words, if you have to go very hard on it, which would be with the white spirits or the detergent, or a very strong detergent like Super Clean, something like that, you may need to use a nylon scouring pad with it to break the surface to get all of it off. And then at the end of that, if you're using a nylon pad or using something very aggressive, then that's going to leave it very dull. So you may need to either re-varnish it or wax it, depending how aggressively you have to go. Now, if the smoke stains just won't disappear, remember you can always paint it. So it will take paint. You can put on a special primer and then paint over it. But try it. If it's oak, it would be nice to keep it in its original shape. I thought that was your stomach, actually.
Oh, if it was my stomach, you would
know about it. Yeah, yes. I have experienced that in the past, in fairness.
We're, in the next hour, going to ask whether Irish men, single men that is, have forgotten how to talk to women. We'll have a very frustrated lady.
Okay, I'd ask the question, did they ever know?
Well, I suppose in years gone by, you had no choice. You had to interact at some level because you went to a dance hall.
Yes.
You had to drag somebody up.
Yes.
So you had to at least ask.
Yes.
Whereas now, you send a sneaky little text message, how you doing? Or you hide behind Facebook.
Well, I actually find the reverse.
To avoid conversation.
I think it's fantastic today. My experience with my kids would be that they're friends with both sexes. Mm. Like they're genuinely friends with both sexes, and they're able to talk, and they're like, we'd have a clatter in and out of the house the whole time of both. We've two teenage lads. Well, Barry's 19, he's nearly 20, but he would have always had friends in the house, both sexes, and totally comfortable in talking to them. I have to say, I would think certainly.
Whereas years ago, when there was more separation in school, and
absolutely,
so on,
absolutely, and you really didn't know how to talk to a girl. I think things have improved dramatically. Now, okay, I'm not on the single scene and haven't been for 25 years, so I don't know what things are like when they become at that stage.
But that's your tuppence worth.
Yes.
And after 11, we'll debate the pros and cons of that point. Has the single Irish man forgotten how to talk to women? And you would contend that maybe he never knew in the first place. Back to business, though. I'm not sure how Deirdre managed this. It has all sorts of sinister undertones. But she wants to remove blood from a carpet.
Blood from a carpet. Okay, well, I suppose a couple of things. Try and remove as much as you can dry. If it is now dried in, which it probably has, try and remove as much as you can. Yes, exactly. Yeah, and he's bleeding out his last on the carpet. So if it's dry, try and remove as much dry. So get a clothes brush and brush it fairly vigorously with a clothes brush and try and hoover up what you can. The less volume you have there afterwards, the easier it will be to take it up when it's wet. Now, there's a couple of various household ones. I just can't think of them off the top of my head, but there are various household chemicals that you would have in the house, and I'm afraid one's in my head and I don't know if it's right or wrong, so I don't want to say it.
Any serial killers, if you want to pitch in here.
Yeah. So, I mean, a good carpet cleaner, the Scotch Guard or 3M or any of those good foaming carpet cleaners, and what you do is spray on the foam, work it in with your hands, or put on gloves if you're squeamish, work it in, and then get clean kitchen roll and put it down on top of the stain and stand on it. And that'll absorb the stain back up again. Take as much as you can out that way, then leave it to dry, and then hoover it again when it's dry.
Let's head to Mullingar. Joe has a question. Morning, Joe.
Morning, how are you doing, Brian?
Great, Joe. What can we do for you?
I'm just after sanding a wooden floor, and I want to know what is the best thing to do with it from now on.
Well, what was on it, Joe?
It was there was a varnish on it. It was a solid floor.
Okay. And is it like a white deal floor, or
exactly?
Is it, okay, all right.
Well, it's a mix.
It's a mix of different timbers.
That's right.
That's fine. All right, okay. Because Okay, well, I suppose the first thing I'd say, and it's funny, the last customer I had leaving my shop asked me the very same question, so it's all still very fresh in my mind. I had the same conversation. It is very important when there are coloured floor varnishes out there. So to me, it's a mistake to ever have a coloured floor varnish, because if you put on a coloured floor varnish, hopefully you've sanded everything down, all the old varnish is gone completely. And
yeah.
if you put on a coloured floor varnish, it will look great, and it's a very easy way of, well, in theory, it's an easy way of doing it. To my point of view, it's not the best way to do it for 2 points of view. One, it's actually more work because you have to be very careful with your varnishing, because the fact that there's a colour in it means that if you go heavier in one area and lighter in another, it will look different. But the real disadvantage of a coloured varnish, Joe, is that the colour is now on the surface.
Okay.
So if you invited Will Faulkner to your house for tea, and he arrives in, as he always, wearing these hobnail boots that he wears, and there's a pebble, a chipping from, stuck in the groove of the hobnail boot, and he ends up dragging it across your floor, you now remove a scratch from the floor. So you have a lovely, mahogany, oak, whatever it's going to be, floor, and you now scratch it with this, and you now have a big white streak on the floor.
I don't want that, no.
You don't want that.
I want something, a hard surface,
yeah. So what you'll do is you'll get a wood dye first, a wood dye that you like the look of, and you'll dye the floor first. You pick out. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Would I have to do that? I mean, it's a solid floor. I mean, it's just there's all kinds of, it's white and it's an oak floor.
Yeah, well, if I suppose the one that you don't have to use a wood dye, but if you use a wood dye, all the grain that's there, even if it's a very light, let's say you put on a light oak wood dye, which is not a dark colour at all, it's a very, very light colour, but what it will do is it'll pick up any graining that's there.
Yeah, okay.
So that's your call. You can decide whether you want to give it a bit more character than it has, or if you're happy with the character that's there, just put on a clear. I would always go polyurethane. There's less smell and less hassle with an acrylic with a water-based varnish, but it's just not as tough.
Okay.
And what I would say to you is, you've had the experience now of sanding the floor. You know where the traffic areas were. You know the areas that get a lot of traffic. So I would say put on one coat first, then put on 3 or 4 coats just on the traffic areas.
That would I?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then put on another coat. You have to put on one coat to start with, and you have to put on one total coat to finish with.
Yeah.
But you can build up. The beauty of that is you should be putting on at least 4 to 5 coats.
Okay.
But you don't have to put 4 to 5 coats over everywhere. And sometimes if people have a brand new house, they don't know where the traffic areas are going to be. They haven't designed, they haven't worked out. You know exactly what wore down first, what was the worst area. So make sure and get at least 3 or 4 extra coats on those areas, and that'll mean it'll last an awful lot longer.
But I would have to use a wood dye, would I?
You don't have to use a wood dye at all. If you're happy with the way it looks, you don't have to use a wood dye. It just adds more character to it if you use a wood dye, and if you've 2 different types of wood there, you have a better chance of getting uniformity of colour if you do.
Okay. Would I have to wash that off with white spirits now?
Yeah, you sand and wash between every coat. So if you've sanded now, you wash it down with white spirits, you take off all the dust, you do what you're going to do, be it wood dye or not, but after your first coat of varnish, you sand between every single coat, just the lightest of light sanding with a 320 grade, very soft Lubrisil paper, and that'll be the secret to not chipping, to being tougher, and to looking better.
But how about a varnish? How do you let that know?
Say that again, Joe?
How about a varnish?
A good quality polyurethane varnish, something like Diamond Coat or Diamond Hard. The harder the better, or else a 2-pack varnish. But they're very smelly and they're hard to use. So I would say Diamond Coat or Diamond Hard are one of the very tough floor varnishes.
Okay, come on. Thanks, Brian.
All right, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. Joe called us on 0818 300 103, and you can do the very same in the little bit of time that's left, or 083 30 10 103 is our text line.
The Midlands 103 text line, brought to you in association with Cash and Carry Tiles, Athlone Road, Longford, where you get tiles with style at low, low prices.
Now, Sinead in Tullamore has a silver toothbrush holder in the bathroom, and it's gone rusty and discoloured. How would she restore it? I wonder if it's just silver or silver in appearance.
Yeah, it's just chrome-plated steel. If it's gone rusty, it's chrome-plated steel. So you look.
Does silver itself not rust?
No, well, you see, solid silver doesn't rust.
Really?
But
okay.
we don't have silver in our houses. We have EPNS, which is electroplated nickel silver, which tends to be steel, which has been electroplated with a silver coating.
So the steel rusts.
So the steel underneath rusts if you break through, and that's why sometimes if they're aggressive in cleaning silver, people will break through the silver and then expose the steel, and then when the steel becomes exposed to the air, it oxidizes, it rusts. But the very same thing has happened now. What has happened is the chrome plating, was removed, not good in the first place, whatever, and due to the steam in the bathroom, it has rusted. So, I mean, replace it. Probably won't cost a fortune. If it's rusted, it probably wasn't fantastic quality in the first place. But then you've holes there and all this sort of thing that might work out. So you would get ideally a rust remover and remove the rust, or alternatively get some fine emery paper, sand it right back down, and then spray it with a chrome paint. You go into your hardware shop or even your motor factors and get a chrome paint and just carry it, unscrew it from the wall, clean it down, get rid of all the rust, bring it out to the garden on a nice sunny day if we ever get one again, put newspaper down on the ground, lay it on the ground and just spray it with a chrome spray. Give it at least 2 coats. 2 light coats, much better than 1 heavy coat. A heavy coat means that you'll get runs and drips. 2 light coats or 3 light coats, you won't get those runs or drips, and it'll look great.
Just a different one we haven't had before. Computer keyboards.
Oh, yes.
Grubby computer keyboards.
Oh, grubby computer keyboard. Well, start from unplug it, take it outside, turn it upside down, tap it gently, get rid of as much as you can. There's often bits and pieces of crumbs and so on in it. Get rid of the crumbs, then take a hoover to it, hoover out all the crumbs, and then get baby wipes. The way there's a huge variety in baby wipes. Some of them are, when you take them out, they're practically dripping wet, and some of them are quite dry. So one of the drier varieties of baby wipes, if you have a packet at home and they're quite wet, take them out and just leave it out of the packet for 10 or 20 minutes and then use it. Let some of the moisture evaporate away, and just key by key, just do each of them. You can use a toothbrush so you can put down the baby wipe and then put a toothbrush on top of that and scrub away. So you're using the bristles from the brush through the baby wipe.
Yes.
But you're
and
not
that's what
using
penetrates.
Exactly. And that the abrasiveness of the toothbrush will be good, but you'll still have the moisture on it, but not too much moisture.
Not too much, yeah.
Exactly. And that'll leave it. You leave it keyboard as good as new if you do that.
Clever boy.
And you thought it was just good looking.
Right. He'll be back next Wednesday, 10:20, or earlier if we need him. And thank you very much for coming in.
Not all, Will.